Hong Kong will eliminate subdivided flats under 8 square meters, converting them to basic housing units with essential amenities. To tell us more about this, we have CBRE's Hannah Zhang and Cushman & Wakefield's Rosanna Tang. So, what prompted the elimination of these subdivided flats under 8 square meters? Let's start with Rosanna.
I think it is really prompted by the government side for its initiative and policy so as to improve the overall living condition and standard and to ensure that all the subdivided units can meet at least the basic living standard for our citizens. So currently, if you look at Hong Kong, we now have some 110 households living in these subdivided units. And the issue of these SDUs are having inadequate living condition in these small flats, which always have been a long-standing problem in Hong Kong on the back of the high demand for the affordable housing. And currently, these subdivided units actually also differ quite significantly in terms of their conditions regarding like fire safety, ventilation, floor area, or even availability of individual toilets and kitchen. So hence, we see that the latest policy address, that's why our Chief Executive John Lee announced that all these subdivided units must be converted to basic housing units. And these basic housing units must meet certain requirements, such as having windows, individual toilet, as well as, like you mentioned, a floor area of no less than 8 square meters. So as to bring back from a regulation point of view to balance the genuine demand, but at the same time to maintain a healthy and balanced and livable conditions for all our citizens.
I think it was driven by the need to improve living standard and the condition of the basic housing. So a lot of times those subdivided units are illegally modified and they lack of essential amenities such as no window, no toilet, even no kitchen facilities, which are very crucial for healthy living environment. So the goal is to provide safer and more dignified housing for residents.
And how do you expect this measure to affect rental rates and volume in SDUs? Go ahead, Hannah.
The measure is likely to have a mixed impact on rental rate and volume. So those subdivided users, they have a quite limited budget. So they care about overall lump sum. Hong Kong Island, for example, less than 8,000 per month per unit. And then Kowloon and New Territory, possibly 3,000 to 4,000 per room per month. So for the short term, due to this measurement, landlord need to evacuate the tenant and they need to do the renovation. This will make the less available unit, which means the rental possibly go up in the short term. But in the long term, we believe that the lump sum has been there, but the unit size became bigger due to the livable space that landlord need to offer, and that will improve the quality of the housing and ultimately lower down the unit rate in the long term. In terms of volume, we believe that going forward, it will be reduced given the number of subdivided unit will be eliminated if it is running in the illegal basis.
So basically, with this introduction of basic housing units, which essentially aims to improve the living condition for low-income individuals as well as some of the grassroots families. Gradually, we do believe that it alleviates the subdivided units issue. But however, we also have to bear in mind and aware of the cost associated with renewing these kind of subdivided units that may bring forward, which also includes the reduction of perhaps the overall supply of the subdivided units available in the market, because some landlords may find it financially challenging to upgrade their units to meet the new standards. And it will potentially also lead to higher rents, and hence it may bring for a higher financial burdens for the grassroots household as well. So I think in the long run, we believe that is the key to tackle this issue for the SDUs or the subdivided units is really to formulate a more comprehensive rehousing plan to consider the affordability of the grassroots housing and to bring back the rebalancing of the supply and demand at an affordable level.
It was also mentioned earlier that this can be financially challenging. So with that, what support should be available to landlords and tenants during the conversion process? Rosanna?
So I think currently, the government already suggested that in the latest policy address that for the pre-existing subdivided units, the government will provide a grace period for the owners to ensure that their flats can meet the new requirements within certain period and deadline. But for the upcoming subdivided units entering the market, they must apply for recognition as up to standard of the basic housing units before they can rent it out. But we think that, as we also mentioned earlier on, in order to really fade out and help the subdivided units situation, it is really important to formulate a more macro and sounding resettlement policy for the household being impacted by these subdivided units. So, given the implementation of the upcoming basic housing units may reduce the overall supply of SDUs and potentially lead to an increase in rent, which essentially will put financial pressure on the existing grassroots households. We have to think outside the box and perhaps to fast track and expedite the provision of other affordable housing. For example, we can think of how to fast track the construction of light public housing to better utilize the land that has not been developed or not planned to be developed in the short term, also with standard simple design, or may as well to implement the MIC technology that could make the flats that could be built pretty quickly and faster than the traditional public rental housing, so as to provide a suitable housing for the subdivided units household in a fastest and most effective way to improve their living standard.
Yeah, support for both landlords and tenants is quite crucial during this transition. I think landlord side, they will look for more financial assistance, possibly tax deduction, or even small lump sum of the renovation cost subsidies from the government. But ultimately, more important thing, what I believe is landlord has a kind of limited knowledge in terms of what is a requirement. So if the government can offer free consultancy service before construction happen, that will ensure the quality of the requirement what government want, and landlord can utilize that for the design work. For the tenant, really difficult because during this period, tenant need to find a new alternative space, but they do have a quite limited budget. So from government point of view, they do need to provide enough temporary housing options or financial aids to minimize the disruption during this conversion period.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Hannah and Rosanna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, those were Hannah Zhang, Head of Valuation and Advisory Services at CBRE Hong Kong, and Rosanna Tang, Executive Director and Head of Research for Hong Kong at Cushman & Wakefield. For more news, visit hongkongbusiness.hk.